Hi BookTube, I'm here with my January wrap-up. Now I've already filmed this and it was incredibly long, and in the interest of keeping this shorter I've decided I'm not going to go into depth in every book that I've read this month. I'm just going to talk about books that stand out for whatever reasons. So let's get the bad stuff out of the way. Let's talk about the DNFs. I had 3 DNFs this month. The first was The World of Yesterday by Stefan Zweig, and I DNF'd it because it really got repetitive and he was really coming from a place of privilege and not acknowledging it. So I decided to just put that book down. I also DNF'd There Will Be Rainbows, a biography of Rufus Wainwright by Kirk Lake, and I did that because the author didn't like Rufus and I was like, this isn't the way to write a biography. And lastly, I DNF'd Plum Rains by Andromeda Romana Lex, and that was just because it was taking too long to get to the point. I think it was suffering from a lack of editing, where just things kind of seemed repetitive and drawn out. So yeah, those were the DNFs. I read a lot of audiobooks this month as well. Plum Rains was an audiobook. I decided to stop that. I also listened to The Last Wish, just like, almost everybody else, after the Witcher series. It was great. The narrator is amazing. I also listened to An Unrested Women by Shobha Rao, and this is one of my favorites of the month. And it's a series of short stories dealing with different aspects of sexuality, all taking place in India. It deals with everything from forced prostitution to questioning sexuality, to acknowledging that you're gay in a dangerous time, to being a virgin. Like, there's all sorts of different aspects. It was really good and really well done. And I love books set in India, so that was a bonus as well. Then I read The Better Sister, which I said was kind of a hate read just because it wasn't a good book. I won't talk too much about it because why waste time talking about bad books. And then I read The Whale Rider by Witi Ihimara, and that was a great book as well. But my favorite book of this month was Dead House Gates, which is the second book in the Malazan series. And because they're so, like, they're connected timeline-wise, but it's a totally different story from the first one. I'm going to tell you about Dead House Gates because it's not really spoilers. I'm not going to mention character names because those would be spoilers. Dead House Gates is about the rebellion that happens after the Malazan Empire is trying to take over certain sections of this world, and all of a sudden, of course there's pushback, and we're following a variety of different characters. We follow people that are on the side of the rebellion, people that are on the side of the empire, people who are just caught up in everything. They had an interesting take on war journalists and what they call a historian, who was my favorite perspective to read from. He wasn't necessarily my favorite character, but I loved reading that perspective because of his insights into war and everything. The magic system just gets propelled to greater heights. You get to explore the Warrens more. The way magic works in the Malazan series is that magicians or mages or sorcerers, or they're called all sorts of things. What they do is they open access to another realm and they draw power from that in order to use their magic. And in the Dead House Gates, we actually get to go into the Warrens, and it's amazing. He also introduced these things called divers and soul taken, which are like shapeshifters or just like overpowered animals, like spiritual animals and stuff. Like, it's really quite interesting. Yeah, I really enjoyed Dead House Gates, and the writing is just beautiful. I'm gonna refer you, I don't know which corner it will be in, but to my favorite quote of the month, just to show you some of the quality of the writing in that book. I also read some comics, and I'm gonna do a separate video going more in depth of that, but in case you're not interested, I'll just tell you here. I read Dawn of the Arcana by Ray Tomy, Volume 1, and that's a manga. Then I read The Ride, which was really disappointing. I read Incognito, which was a really interesting look at a black man passing as white in the I want to say the 1920s, and he's investigating lynchings and injustices against black people. And then I read Fell by Warren Ellis. I always seek out Warren Ellis comics. They're generally about detectives or criminals or crime in some way. And this one was amazing. The art is beautiful. It's all watercolor. And then I read Kabuki, which is the standout of the month. It was written and the art was done by David Mack, and it's just astounding. I'm definitely going to talk further about that in another video. So that's my wrap up for the month of January. Let me know what your favorite book was, and if you had any DNFs, come on, share with me, because I had 3 already this year. And thank you for watching.